2025, but I'm entering my third month of solitary confinement within Woodhill Prison. After 42 days, they had to go to the government after 42 days of isolation. So whose decision is it? Because I know people get frustrated with the prison. It's not the prison. All decisions to do with me and nothing to do with the jail. They're coming from the government. That was I had to give a written response to my opinion on my isolation. After 42 days, it was going to the government for them to continue doing it. So I wrote my written response, which said, this doesn't have to happen. When I come in here, I sat down with a psychiatrist and I said to her, what's 9 months of solitary confinement going to do to me? She said it's going to be devastating for your mental health. So I said, so why are they doing it? And this week I sat down. Every 2 weeks I have a meeting with the governors and the mental health team are there. Psychiatrists are there, mental health, probation, independent monitoring board. They're all there every 2 weeks because I have to have it because I'm on solitary confinement. And this week I said, I'm going to say this because I feel different. I'm telling you, I know how I feel. I feel different. I know I'm only 2 months in. So why am I still being held in solitary confinement?
I know what's gone on previously in my previous prison sentences. I wrote a letter to my wife and it was a detailing letter. Yeah.
It's all right. It's all right. This is a letter to your wife from prison. What did you say?
To make sure they understood why I do what I do. And it's me believing that the worst will come.
That you will die in jail.
The worst will come, and I want my children to know that I haven't, yeah.
The documentary you're about to watch is the most important documentary I've ever made. This story is far bigger than Tommy Robinson. This is about the weaponisation and the politicisation of these buildings. Court buildings across the West. The Royal Courts of Justice, ironically named. These buildings have been weaponised and used against members of the public to destroy them if they speak out. From Donald Trump to Steve Bannon to Geert Wilders to Marie Le Pen to Katie Hopkins. That's what's happening. My job as a journalist, I stand for freedom of speech, I stand for freedom of the press. And I failed, because 3 years ago when I lost a court case in here, and they bankrupted me to the tune of £1.6 million. On a documentary, you're going to see the entire story was a lie, okay? I failed because I should have come out of court and I should have played you that film. Why didn't I play you that film? Because I was given a gagging order by this building, by this judge. I was silenced, and I allowed them to silence me because I was scared. I was scared of 2 years in prison. I was scared of the effect that solitary confinement for that length of time would have on me. I was scared of jihadi gangs in jail, and I was scared of the effect it would have on my family. I failed me and I failed you. I'm not going to fail myself again.
Tommy Robinson is now targeting Keir Starmer from prison, and Ricky Gervais has weighed in.
Those that are spreading lies and misinformation as far and as wide as possible, they're not interested in victims. They're interested in themselves. Those who are cheerleading Tommy Robinson, not interested in justice. They're supporting a man who went to prison for nearly collapsing a grooming case, a gang grooming case. These are people who are trying to get some kind of vicarious thrill from street violence that people like Tommy Robinson promote. And those attacking Jess Phillips, who I'm proud to call a colleague and a friend, not protecting victims. Jess Phillips has done 1,000 times more than they've even dreamt about when it comes to protecting victims of sexual abuse throughout her entire career. And so just as I took on the criminal justice system and the institutions when I was chief prosecutor, I'm prepared to call out this for what it is. We've seen this playbook many times.
Tommy Robinson criticised Keir Starmer, questioning his public image. If his claims are true, Starmer's credibility could be in trouble. And there's more to the story.
At this point, I know what they're going to do, yeah. What I believe they're going to do, and that I know no one can tell me why I was brought to that prison only. Yeah. No one can tell me. So I know intentionally, and previously I've been locked in rooms with Muslims in prison, so I believe that, and then in that first week in the block.
Robinson accused Starmer of ignoring working class concerns, especially on immigration and cultural issues. He painted him as out of touch and more focused on preserving the status quo than pushing for real change.
Then been told I'm getting moved, so I said to my wife, I'm getting moved, but nothing from the outcry outside, from Lord Pearson, who's a lawyer in the UK, making comments to make sure I'm safe. I knew that nothing had been done to do that.
So you're sat down writing your letter to your wife and your children, and what are you telling them?
That I know by doing what I do that that moment will come. And I know that, and I've chose that.
And you want your children to know that you didn't choose it over them?
So I detailed to my wife that it's not about them, it's not about our children, it's about every child, everyone's. I'm not apologising because not for 1 minute I'm sorry for what I've done. I'm apologising for what it's caused.
Robinson also criticised Starmer's foreign policy, financial choices and what he called a pattern of broken promises since his time as Director of Public Prosecutions.
Why am I not in a DCAT prison? And there's a mental health team there. I said, let me just ask you, is this good for me? She said, no. I said, how bad is it? Because I know how bad it is because I remember what happened last time. So I said, so why are you doing it? Why are you doing it? And I'm a civil offender, so I got 18 months, which is insane anyway, for playing a film that they said wasn't in the public's interest. Well, I think it's on 115 million views. It certainly was in the public's interest, yeah? But they sentenced me to 18 months. Now, as a civil offender, you go to an open prison. What's the difference between that and how I'm being held? Well, open prison, you get a job outside. You have a car. You go to work. You go stay at home 5 days a month. You have town visits with your family. So that is the only prison you go to for committing civil offences. You're unshipped to a maximum security jail housing the worst Muslim gangs and jihadists in the country. And then they use that then to say you have to go on solitary confinement. And what is solitary confinement? Well, rapists and terrorists are not on solitary confinement. Jihadists aren't. Axel, who done his little stabbing spree, the Muslim lad, I was in Belmarsh on solitary confinement. He was 2 cells above me on healthcare. He's got a job. So they're not under solitary confinement. What day is it today? It's Thursday. My routine tomorrow, Friday. At 8:30, because people say, yeah, I've got the gym. I have got.
Robinson stated, when the state decides who counts as a journalist, that's communism. His claims appeared aimed at undermining trust in Starmer. As his remarks spread, social media erupted with outrage, scepticism and demands for an investigation, keeping the controversy alive for days.
Stephen Yaxley-Lennon, better known as Tommy Robinson, has pleaded guilty to contempt of court charges over his banned documentary called Silenced. Robinson was arrested after screening that film at a Trafalgar Square rally in July. The documentary was shown despite a court order banning its release following Robinson's libel loss to a Syrian refugee 3 years ago. Today, appearing at court, he admitted knowingly flouting the injunction multiple times. Well, with potential penalties of up to 2 years in jail, a fine or both, the hearing continues.
Commentators hesitated to engage with claims from someone many had written off. Labour initially dismissed the controversy, but as it escalated, Starmer had to respond. He appeared on several news programmes to refute Robinson's allegations, but for many, the damage was done. Doubt had already taken hold.
The victim was a lie. The boy who was accused of bullying him was thrown out of the school because of his previous prior record and this incident before it ever got made public, this incident, which came through a viral video. So, yeah, people in America do look at Tommy Robinson in a very different way to how we do here. The reason Nigel Farage has disowned him, and was nothing to do with him, is we see through him. Right? Tommy Robinson is a convicted football hooligan who was convicted of beating up a police.
Just as Labour hoped the controversy would fade, Ricky Gervais stepped in. With his sharp wit, he mocked Westminster, showing that a well-timed joke can hit harder than any political speech.
Leading a riot. He is somebody who's been guilty of mortgage fraud. He's been somebody who was guilty of forging a passport to get into America because he couldn't travel because of his criminal record. He's been found in contempt of court twice for nearly wrecking trials of the grooming gangs, where he turned up and was saying defamatory things at the courtroom, which nearly led to the whole case being collapsed. And now he's been found in contempt of court for repeat.
Gervais's comments sent the controversy spiralling, going viral and fueling debates. His remarks put unexpected pressure on Starmer, turning a political dispute into a cultural flashpoint. Just as things calmed down, Gervais pushed it even further.
Court for repeating lies about this Syrian boy in this film Silence, which has been viewed over 150 million times. So I understand why people in America have got a slightly warped view of Robinson, but I can tell you that is the reality.
Gervais didn't just joke, he issued a direct challenge that shook both his fans and political circles. Then came his next statement, one that couldn't be ignored. What did he say that turned this controversy into a full-blown crisis?
But when the poison of the far right leads to serious threats to Jess Phillips and others, then in my book, a line has been crossed. I enjoy the cut and thrust of politics, the robust debate that we must have, but that's got to be based on facts and truth, not on lies, not on those who are so desperate for attention that they're prepared to debase themselves and their country. So this government will get on with the job of protecting victims, including child sexual abuse, mandatory reporting, accelerating the processes. But what I won't tolerate is this discussion and debate based on lies without calling it out.
Before we continue, don't forget to like this video and subscribe to the channel. It helps us keep bringing you important stories. Now, let's get back to it.
That just come out of jail after 13 months had been encouraging his missus to behead her parents because they were kafar, non-believers. He spent 30 months in jail. He'd been encouraging and promoting ISIS terrorism. And they knew he was still a danger and a threat. That's why he was monitored 24 hours a day. He's only out of jail 2 days before he went and tried to kill people. Why has he been let out of jail? When we start treating these men, don't put him in prison with car thieves or violent offenders or drug dealers, because they're a whole new level. They are foreign fighters, enemy combatants at war with us. No match of your pathetic de-radicalisation bullshit programmes that you put them on in prison changes their mind. They are
Gervais weighed in with a sharp tweet. Starmer's about as in touch with the working class as I am with quantum physics, quickly gaining thousands of retweets. But this wasn't just a joke. He followed up with a detailed Instagram post calling politics a great British pantomime and pointing out the irony of a jailed man disrupting the establishment more than those in power.
After murdered. Terrorist attack after terrorist attack. That doesn't have to happen. You just need to grow a pair of bollocks and sort them out. And stop being so fucking weak. I'm going to burst a blood vessel, but Piers Morgan, you're a hypocrite. Every one of you news presenters sitting there, Syra Khan, you're a hypocrite. You called me a racist and extremist. You'll be sitting there saying, me, I'm from the Islamic community, I'm disgusted. This is because of this. Oh, it's all right for you to say it then, yeah? We were bigots and extremists. You successfully targeted us, slandered us and silenced us. And everything we called out, we now watch as it plays out. And you do fuck all to stop it.
Gervais joked. If Tommy Robinson is your voice of reason, you've got bigger problems than just Starmer, criticising both sides. His humour highlighted a deeper issue: Starmer's disconnect with voters. With over 14 million Twitter followers, his message spread beyond political circles, drawing in people who rarely engaged in politics. Unlike op-eds and news reports, Gervais made British politics impossible to ignore. The political establishment responded with confusion and concern. Some MPs dismissed Gervais as just a comedian, unintentionally proving his point that those in power would rather ignore criticism than confront it.
I don't think that Tommy Robinson is frothing anything either.
I didn't say he was either. I said he was an extremist, but I didn't say he was frothing.
Well, I disagree with you on that. And the man that I was there with, in fact, just not one man, but the person I was there with, I was referring to a moment ago, who is Muslim, I'm sure if he was on the line with me right now, he would be putting you straight, that you're giving out the wrong message, that Tommy Robinson is not an extremist. He says certain things that are truths. The reason why he's been convicted to prison for 18 months today, your news bulletin is saying that he put out repeated falsehoods or something like that. Actually, it's the opposite. He'd been put in prison for telling the truth.
As the dust settled, one thing was clear: Gervais had changed the conversation. What started as a fringe controversy became a nationwide debate. But beyond the political fallout, his involvement raised a bigger question: how much influence should entertainers have in politics?
The far-right activist Tommy Robinson has been jailed for 18 months for contempt of court after admitting to repeating false allegations about a Syrian refugee. Robinson, whose real name is Stephen Yaxley Lennon, continued to repeat the claims even after he was successfully sued for libel in 2021, including in a film which has been viewed millions of times. Handing down the sentence, the judge said Robinson's actions suggested he regards himself as above.
Robinson's accusations and Gervais's remarks exposed a deeper issue: rising distrust in British politics. This was no longer just about Starmer or Labour, but a broader frustration with a system seen as disconnected. Westminster's old guard now faces pressure not just from politicians or the media, but from unexpected voices: comedians, cultural figures, and even prisoners. With influence shifting beyond Parliament and traditional news outlets, the battle for public trust is taking place in new arenas.
I mean, you know, in the news now, you know, with these parties that the government, the people in charge were breaking the rules, having these parties in their lovely gardens. I think I've been naive all my life. It's not till now I just go, why do we trust them? Of course we shouldn't trust the people in charge. That's how they're in charge. They shouldn't be trusted.
How did it come to this? A comedian and a jailed activist connecting with the public more than elected leaders. The backlash isn't just about Robinson's claims or Gervais's jokes. It reflects a growing demand for transparency, accountability, and leadership that truly represents ordinary people. With frustration at a boiling point, Westminster can't afford to ignore it any longer. Like and subscribe for more content, and check out our other videos here.